Okay, I'm just going to talk a little bit about why I love the Beethoven First Piano Concerto and a little bit about my history with it, which is not that extensive actually. Um, I've always adored, of course, all the Beethoven concertos. When Morihiko approached me about doing this one, we knew that the third, fourth, and fifth had been done with the South Carolina Philharmonic, not so in the not so distant past, and so we were thinking about either one or two. And I love this one, number one, and I said, sure, let's do it. And I'm thinking early Beethoven maybe isn't as hard as some of the other Beethoven concertos. And I opened the music, and I'm like, holy cow, this is really incredibly difficult piece. What have I got myself into? And also a very substantial piece. It's like 38 minutes long, like a real symphony for piano and orchestra. And I had played it years ago, especially the first movement a couple times by itself, when I was a winner of this or that competition in my sort of late teenage years, and a little bit after that, the whole piece. But it had been many years since I looked at this piece as a player, from a player's standpoint. So, and there are a lot of things that reveal themselves to me now that eluded me when I was a 19-year-old. And one of the interesting things about Beethoven, or any classical music too, is the difference between what is written on the page and what other things you have to bring to it to come to life. You have to observe the notes that are written on the page and the rhythms, at least in a basic way, that are written on the page, and sort of approximately how loud and how soft it is and so forth. But a lot of times composers, Beethoven included, don't tell you everything. And when I was a 19-year-old aspiring young pianist, I would look at a passage maybe from the slow movement, the middle movement, and I would see, that it was kind of, pianissimo, which means very, very quiet. And I'm sort of playing maybe the rhythms in a very literal way, which might sound something like this. And then there's something that's elusive, and that's the mystery of music. Of course, it has a lot to do with experience and a lot to do with knowing, for example, a given composer like Beethoven, knowing all of his music, not just the piano music, but the string quartets, the symphonies, all of the violin sonatas, all that stuff, and all the language of his time, in different genres, and kind of understanding gesture, sort of, so you can sort of really absorb what that late 1700s kind of music was really about behind the notes. So today I play that hopefully differently than I did when I was 19, and bring maybe something of that experience to it, and especially the quality of melody, and almost like a vocal quality to the melody, where it's more about, not just about the literal rhythms, but about the breathing behind the melody, as if one is a singer. Let's see if I can change my interpretation from age 19. So there's a lot of things in there that, are not explicitly written by Beethoven. A little getting louder, and a little getting softer, and a little, holding this note a touch more, and that one moving through a little bit more. And that's one of the things that's so hard to absorb as a musician, or to convey as a teacher, is where does that come from? And it's a lot of understanding the style and that kind of thing, because these notes, these dots on a page, are just a very bare bones, kind of a crude way of conveying the composer's message, and it's sort of our privilege and duty in the 200 something years later to try to sort of reach behind these dots and see if we can tap into the spirit and mind of Beethoven himself.